So this is Jennifer from the Lakeshore Museum Center, and today's holiday baking recipe is mulled wine. So this is something that my sister has made a few times, and I wanted to try it for myself. So it's fairly low for ingredients. You need, obviously, wine. Red wine works best. From what I've looked up for recipes, something that's not too dark and woody tasting, but you also don't want it to be too light. And a sweet red, you want somewhere in the middle so that you can still taste the wine, but you can still taste all of these spices. The commonly used spices that are in mulled wine are cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, cardamom, oranges, a lot of those kind of warming spices that we often find in the holiday season. So I was actually able to find an entire can of mulling spices. So this has everything in it for me. So this has the cinnamon, orange peel, star anise, lemon peel, whole allspice, whole cloves, vanilla extract, and orange oil. So I just thought this would be a better way to get my mulling spices so that I'm not really stuck with a bunch of star anise because I don't use it that often, and it was likely to expire before I used it again. So I went with the jar of mulling spices all combined for me. So to get the mulled wine started, you want to start with a medium-sized saucepan on your stove, and we'll just open and pour in the wine. And depending on how many people you have, you can do 2 bottles, you can do half a bottle and save the rest for another time. It's a really flexible recipe based on how many people are going to be drinking your mulled wine. And then to get the spices in, we have some pretty small pieces in our mulling spices, and we don't want to drink those, so we need to infuse it into the wine in a way that it won't kind of end up in our final mulled wine that we want to drink. So that is where cheesecloth comes in. So cheesecloth you can buy at the store. Hopefully you have an easier time finding it than I did. But it's just able to simmer in the wine pot with the mulling spices and end up with that final flavor you want. So we're just going to dump in a good amount of our spices. I probably did a little less than half the jar. And then you just bundle it up so it's in a little pouch. And then you can tie it closed. You can use a rubber band or a twist tie, whatever you have on hand. I have enough that I'm able to just tie a knot in the top. And this way, nothing will kind of float out of my mulling spices. So what I'm going to do now is put this in our pot, and we're just going to simmer the wine. You don't want it to ever come to a boil. If it comes to a boil, your wine will end up very bitter. So you just want to keep it on a low simmer for the whole time that you're cooking. All right, so it has been 15 minutes, so our wine should be done. Halfway through, I did actually have to move it to a smaller burner on my stove because it did start to boil a little bit, and you do want to avoid that. So let's go in with the ladle and take out our little bundle of spices. I'll stick them on a plate, and then you can just ladle it on into your mug and serve it up. So if it is best served warm, but if you need to keep your mulled wine later or longer, you can refrigerate it. You can put it in any sort of sealed container and refrigerate it, and then you can reheat it up in the stove or even microwave it to make it warm again to drink a second time. This is also a recipe that you can use with cider. So if you don't want the alcohol, you can use all of those same mulling spices, use the same technique, but instead of wine, just use fresh cider. And at the end, you will have that nice, warm, spiced cider to drink. So I hope you try this recipe, and I hope you enjoy. Bye.